Welcome back to Warrington Filming, guys. Right, in this video we're going to be putting up this humongous Victorian entrance hall coving. It is massive, and it does weigh quite a bit. That length is really heavy. It's a proper plaster coving with massive amounts of detail. So what we're going to be covering in this project is fixing it up, internal and external miters. One thing I'm going to say is you've got to bear in mind, guys, I don't do this on a regular basis. So when I'm actually doing this type of project, there's a lot more thinking involved and a bit more planning, because I don't do it on a day-to-day basis and I'm not a professional at it. I'm just trying to do this video to help any of you guys out there who fancy putting some massive coving up. So hopefully the information in this video will help you decide whether you can tackle such a project. And I will be making a lot of it up as I go along, but hopefully aspects of the video will help you out. Now, when it comes to coving on your internal and external corners, it's not like doing woodwork. They're not the 45 degrees you cut on a mitre block for woodwork. It's a bit more difficult than that. So we're going to go over that point. One of the things with coving is the projection, right? The projection means how far this top edge comes out from the ceiling, right? So imagine that's your wall there, yeah, and you got your ceiling above. Yeah, you got your coving sitting on the bottom. The projection is how far it comes out like that. So with this particular coving, the projection is 190 from the ceiling out. So yeah, that's basically it. Let's crack on with it, shall we? What I'm going to be doing is starting on this chimney breast here, which is the main feature in this room, right? When anybody's sitting down or anything, what they're going to be looking at, the chimney breast, isn't they? So that's where their eyes are going to be focused. Not round the edges, round the rest of the room, it's going to be on here. As you can see, with this wall, it has got a wallpaper on. Now normally, you'd want to strip the wallpaper off, right? So the coving is being stuck with the correct adhesive to the bare plaster. But because this coving is so big and so heavy, it's got to be fixed up with adhesive and it's got to be screwed onto the brickwork, right? So because it's being screwed onto the brickwork, you probably get like 3 screws at the bottom, 3 screws at the top, right? There's no need for me to strip that paper off because the paper's stuck down well, right? And it's going to be fixed with screws. So there's no need for me to take that off. And you're going to have the adhesive sticking to the paper as well as the screws. Now, like I said, it's got a projection of 190mm. So what I tend to do is measure out 190mm. Oh, try not to knock the TV off. So I'm just going to put a little more air. And I'll put another mark in the middle somewhere, roughly. 190. And then I'll put another mark here, 190. Right, I don't know if I could do this on my own, but the idea is you want to put some form of straight edge on those marks. Draw a line. Now, if we've got somebody helping me with this, I could have just done it in one go. As you can see, I've got that line going all the way down there. That's a projection, 190mm, yeah? And I've done a line on the wall there as well. So that just gives me a guide to where the coving is going to sit. Now, you see how I've done that line there, which basically gives me sort of a straight edge there. So if you're just going to cut coving straight down the middle, right, that's the line I would use as a guide. So when you come to the coving for the external mitre on both sides of that chimney breast, right, luckily for me, it's 64 inches on that chimney breast from one end to the other. So that gives me a block there and a block there. Yep, that's 64. I'm lucky because I'm not having to cut directly through the centre of that. Right. So here's the bottom of the coving and here's the top. So that gives me that straight edge there, the end of the wall. So you get to that measurement there and you measure out 190. Then you've obviously got to come out at an angle to that. But at the same time, lifting this up off the flat surface, 190. So that's the idea, doing that straight line like that. So you're getting the edge of the wall there. Right then, as you can see, I've just put this length on the chimney breast with the external mitres. Yeah, see how it protrudes out quite a lot. And I've just screwed it up temporarily so you can get an idea what it's going to look like. So if I just show you the screws, well, that is what you're aiming for, like that. Some of these are just sticking out a little bit at the minute because it's got to be pulled down, get some adhesive on it and then screw it back. So it's going to have adhesive and screws holding it up. You can't just hold it up with adhesive, it's too heavy. Has to be screwed in. There you go, so you get an idea. Right, before I show you how to do an external mitre on this this big coving, right, I'm just going to explain a few things first. As you can see on this coving up here, right, is your wall edge just here, yeah? Now if you draw a straight line from the ceiling down to that wall, you'll find that coving that protrudes from the wall to there, from there to about there where the wall lines up, that's 190 protruding. So you got 190 protruding from there, and then you got your projection from the ceiling, which is back behind there, to the edge there is 190, right? Now when I'm cutting this coving, because it's a pattern, I've got to try and match this pattern up. So you see this block here, right? We're going to have a block. It's going to end up as a square there, not a block, not one of these blocks. That there is about 4 centimetres block. So I've got to try and replicate that on the cut. Right then, when you're cutting an external mitre without using a mitre block, there's a different technique to it, right? So, here's your coving, right? To cut an external mitre, I want the top of the coving nearest to me, yeah? So I don't want that top on there. I want the top at the bottom. So I'm doing it back to front. Right then. So here is this line and this line here is my straight line. That's that. Just imagine that being the edge of the wall, yeah? Right? See this block here? I want roughly half of that block on my cut. So that's where it's going to be cut, roughly around there. Yeah, at that sort of angle. There's my wall area. Now I've measured the wall area. So from this corner here, to the edge here is 14¼ inches from there to there. So let's just imagine that line and that line is my wall area. I've then come over here 14¼ inches. Yeah. So let's just say, just imagine I've got to cut that straight, which I haven't, but that's me 14 there, 14¼ right? From this wall area here, yeah, there's my mark. I've got to come out 190 mil. That gives me, hold on. So that gives me from that mark to that mark there. That's me cut. That gives me 190 from there to there. Yeah. And as you can see, that's my bottom. So that's going to be shorter and this is going to be longer. Yeah. So that gives me that 190 coming out from the wall. You see what I mean? From there to there, that's 190. I've got to repeat that on that corner there. So that coving, when it's against the wall, yeah, it's becoming 190. There. Right, I know that's difficult to follow. It's not an easy thing, and don't be disheartened if you have to have a bit of filling on that external mitre, because you have to bear in mind walls are not square and everything, nothing's ever square. So don't be disheartened if you've got to do a bit of filling on that external mitre. So now I'm going to show you what I've got to do when I cut it. So what we've got to do here as well, I've got to lift that coving up 190 mil, right? So what I'm going to be using for that is just a couple of bits of wood. Ideally you want 2 people to do this, but I've got Santa's little helper behind the camera, so she can't do it. So I've got to lift that up like that to do the cut, and it's got to go at 190. What I've done, I've lifted it up and put that bit of wood behind it. Ideally you want 2 people to do this. Right, and if you look at that, it's 190, yeah, there, and 190, so I've lifted that back up 190, right. If it helps, put a bit of masking tape from your mark there to your mark there for the angle. Helps you when you're cutting. And a lot of the professionals just do it by eye. But if it helps you out, put a bit of tape there, yeah? Start off with your saw in here, yeah? Get your saw there. A bit of tape just gives you that extra guidance so you're not swaying over with your sword. Your 45-degree external mitre. Yeah. Right, so for that internal corner there, coming this way, we need the coving this way with the top there, and at that angle. So shorter at the top because that's going to come off, and longer at the bottom. Right then, we've just done a bit and we've got that lens to put up there. Right then, if you feel that you're not going to be able to have two people to help you cut like the external mitres and the internal mitres the way I've previously shown you, you can revert back to the original way of cutting coving with a mitre block. Now, as you've seen in some of my previous videos, where I was just putting the egg and dart coving up, which has still got a pattern, I was using this mitre block, which I think I bought from Wix's, and then just added the blocks, right? So when the coving leaned over, I'd got my projection. So yeah, if you feel like you're going to be doing it on your own and you've not got an extra person to hold it up at that 190, you're going to have to build yourself a bigger mitre block, right, to take the bigger coving. This one here, I have made it myself. It only took me an hour and a half, something like that. It's just a bigger version of this one, this plastic one. So this is made from scaffolding planks, yeah? So I've got a bit of scaffolding plank down the bottom, just any size, it don't matter how short or how long you have it. I suppose if it's a decent length, it holds the coving a little bit straighter, and then what I do, I just put another bit of plank on the end if it's a long length of coving, which it normally is. So yeah, I'm saying all I've got is a plank at the bottom, right, a plank on the side which goes to the bottom of that plank there, and then I've got the next plank sitting on top of the plank. Now then, as you can see with this one, you've got one side that's higher than the other. That doesn't matter, right? You can cut that extra piece off the top if you wish, but it doesn't make any difference. Now, the reason I've got that plank sitting on top of that plank and that plank sitting flush with the base one is because when I put the big coving in, right, and bend it over, it sits in there nicely itself, and that actually gives me from that edge there to the edge of the coving there, that gives me a projection of 190, which is what this requires. As you know, when it's up against the ceiling, right, hold on, there's your bottom, your top comes out like that, and it's got to be 190. Yeah. So using this mitre block, luckily for me, positioning those pieces of timber, the planks, as they've been positioned, does actually give me 190 from there, 190 from there to 190 there. So happy days. When it comes to making the mitre block, all I've done is fix them bits of timber on there like that, positioned this old mitre block in the middle like so. And of course I'm going to need a cut there and a cut there to get me left and me right internal mitres, right? So okay, I've cut this now, but can you see how? Hold on, let's just get it in there. See, look. You've got your 45 degree there. Put that in there. There's your 45 degree. They give you your right and left side internal mitres. So basically you've just got to get them, mark them on there, and you've got your mitres. What I've done here is I've got my right cut, yeah, and my left cut, and I've marked right, left. Let me show you what I'm talking about. As you can see, I've got a left and the right side. So that's your left mitre, internal mitre, that's your right internal mitre. When you join them up, okay, forget the pattern because you have got to match the pattern up when you're cutting the mitre, but that will give you your fit there. Okay, so as you can see, there's a big piece of coving. So if I want to do a left side internal mitre, right, I get my coving there, yeah, I plonk it in there, I put it in there like so, yeah, and I basically cut it that way. Or if I want to do a right side internal mitre, I just put the saw in and cut it that way. That will give me them mitres on the internal. Simple as that. Now me myself, I do prefer to use this method compared to what I've shown you a little bit earlier on in the video. I do prefer to use a mitre block. I find it more precise on the joints and everything. And you can do your external mitres on one of these blocks as well. So if you think you're going to have to do it on your own, or you're not happy with doing it that other way, just make yourself a mitre block and do your internal and external corners on that. So just get your coving in with the top side this time, the top of the coving leaning towards you, right? Make sure it's as square as you can get it in the mitre block, and as I've said, this is an internal corner, yeah. So just get your saw on and just slowly cut that internal corner. Right, as you can see, that's the length I want there, and that's my waist. Hopefully maybe I'll be able to use that somewhere down the line, and then we end up with an internal corner which has got a longer bottom and a shorter top. So here's the length of coving I put up. There's the internal mitre, that's what you're looking at. where it meets the wall at the bottom and then comes out. That's using the mitre block system. There's all the screws on the bottom, all countersunk in, so you got to fill over them a little bit. Same with the top. Yeah. And here's a joint that I've got to fill. But as you can see, it all lines up. Yeah. So you just have to do some minor filling there. And yeah, that's basically it. That's the length gone up there. Oh, look at fly top. Looks amazing, doesn't it? You've got to admit. So what I've done there is drilled a pilot hole into the ceiling. I'm not putting a plug in the ceiling because that's the old lath and plaster underneath this new ceiling. Right, drilled a pilot hole, got about a 10mm bit, so that countersinks it. Yeah. Changed my drill to the screw. Then I've got some about 2-inch, whatever it is, drywall screw, and that's going to get drilled into there, directly into the ceiling. Bear in mind, need to make sure that you've got no pipes or anything in the floor, but they're normally on the top of the rafters, so you're all right, or the joists. Easy does it, just slightly countersink. Now bear in mind, I've got to take all this off when I've done the whole room and put adhesive behind this. So but all I'm doing at the minute is making sure all the mitres and everything join up, and then I'll take each piece down separately, put the adhesive on and screw it back before I do any minor filling. So what we've got nearly a full length of coving here, just over 2 metres. I've drilled the pilot holes in the bottom of the coving, in between the squares, and countersunk it as well. What we're going to do now is offer it up. Yeah, the mitre's already near enough bang on, and we're going to drill through these pilot holes on the coving and get a mark on the wall for where we're going to put the wall plugs. Bear in mind, this is quite heavy and it's a 2-man job. Right. Okay. Yeah, that's exactly. Hold on. There. Let's just draw a line there. Yeah. Right. So it's all in. Internal miters. I've got the holes drilled here. I'm just going to get a marking on the wall now, like so. Keeping the mitre solid to where it's got to be, so the holes match up. Don't move it. Where's the next one? Can you see it? Here. There.
Oh, here. No, here we.
There's one there. That's it. End one. I'll do. Drop it down. Right, so I now know where I've got to do my fixings in the brick wall. I'll just screw drywall screws into the ceiling. Just bear in mind, with your screw piece, measure your screw, put a bit of tape around it, because you might find most internal walls going to the neighbour are only 4.5 inches thick, just one brick, and you don't want to do what I did a few months ago, and that's drill through the wall into next door, above the bed, or a hole straight through the wall. So put a bit of tape on it, yeah. Okay. Got your holes, get your wall plugs in. Drill the holes in the wall, put the plugs in. We know where it's got to go. I'm using about 1.5 inch screws because I don't want to go in that brickwork too far, because I don't want to drill through to next door. Now, as I say, 2-man job. We're going to put it, offer it back up, screw the bottoms in, but still supporting the top. Yep. Just let it go. Okay. Just bear in mind, all I'm doing is screwing it up for now. When I've got all the room done, I'll take each section down and put the adhesive on. I don't want to start gluing it on yet in case I've got to make any alteration. Right, so I've got all the bottoms screwed on. I'm going to make the pilot holes for the screws just to support it on the ceiling. Just drilling through the coving, not into the ceiling. Note, I'm drilling the pilot holes on a flat surface because it's easier to fill. I don't want to be drilling it in the pattern because I'm not going to be able to make the pattern up. Now I'm putting the 8 or 10mm bit on, so I can countersink the screws. So I'm just going to screw it into it a little bit, just drill into it a bit. Must point out, one of the reasons I'm not putting the adhesive on yet is because I want to get all the drilling done right before the weekend. Because you know what neighbours are like, they don't want you drilling on a weekend while they're trying to chill out and rest and start moaning. So the idea of doing all the drilling and all the cutting first is to get the noise out of the way, and then all I've got to do is unscrew it a bit, get the adhesive on, which is quiet, isn't it? I'm not making noise, so I'm doing it this way, so I'm not drilling at the weekend. Because if I stop putting the adhesive on now, it's going to take me twice as long to keep getting the lengths up. All the coving has now been finished. All the joints are filled up. Ceiling rose is on in the middle there, on top of the original. And as you can probably tell from there, I'm going to spray the ceiling. Yeah, give it more of a view. There it is. Lovely jubbly.
Candles are burning low. One for each night, they shed a sweet light to remind us of days long ago. Hanukkah, oh Hanukkah, come light the menorah. Let's have a party, we'll all dance the hora. Gather round the table, we'll give you a treat. Sevivim to play with and lots of sweet. And while we are playing, the candles are burning low. One for each night, they shed a sweet light to remind us of days long ago. One for each night, they shed a sweet light to remind us of days long ago. Hey! Hanukkah, oh Hanukkah, come light the menorah. Let's have a party, we'll all dance the hora. Gather round the table, we'll give you a treat. Sevivim to play with and lots of sweet. And while we are playing, the candles are burning low. One for each night, they shed a sweet light to remind us of days long ago. Hanukkah, oh Hanukkah, come light the menorah. Let's have a party, we'll all dance the hora. Gather round the table, we'll give you a treat. Sevivim to play with and lots of sweet. And while we are playing, the candles are burning low. One for each night, they shed a sweet light to remind us of days long ago.
Right then, as you can see, all finished. Yeah, there you go. All sprayed, extra ceiling rose fitted there. It's all been painted. I sprayed the ceiling and sprayed the coving. Any extra filling on the joints has all been done. So there you go, finished. Happy days, full power. Right then, as you can see, it's all finished. Ceiling sprayed, coving sprayed, done about 2 to 3 coats on the coving, a couple of coats on the ceiling with the grey coat spraying machine. If you're tackling something like this, whether it's first time or you've done it a couple of times, like I say, I'm not an expert, but you know, I can do it. Just bear in mind, when it comes to the actual joints, where you've actually, you know, joined the coving up, or on the internal or external miters, right, don't think you're going to get it perfect and like you're not going to have to do any filling, because you are. Whether it's internal, external, or the joints, you will need to do a little bit of filling, bit of sanding to make it look like it grew there. Basically, fill and sand it so you can't tell that there is a joint. So I hope you found the content of this video helpful compared to some of the other coving videos on YouTube. And yeah. Hope you enjoyed, and happy COVID. Until next time, stay safe. A happy wife is a happy life. Yeah.